I just finished watching Barry on HBO Max, or at least the 3 seasons that are available, and I have to say, I love this show. Now, I cannot wait until season 4, even though with 3's ending, I have no idea where they're planning to take the series from here, but nonetheless, that finale kept me on the edge of my seat. This show stars Bill Hader, who is an actor that I've always loved, but this is not what you would typically expect from him. The show can be classified as a dark comedy, but there is a heavy, and I mean heavy, influence on the dark. There are times that this show will get as serious and intense as any drama that I've seen in the last 10 years, and it's not afraid to take its characters through the emotional ringer. The main character, Barry, is a guy with deeply severe psychological issues that you can both feel sympathy for, but also see just how terrifying it is for a man like this to even exist. The general premise is that Barry, a former Marine who was discharged for, let's just say, not the best of reasons, confides in a close family friend afterwards named Fuchs, played by Stephen Root, who convinces him to use his military skills to become a hitman, and he's very good at it. But at his core, Barry doesn't really know who he is or what he's good for, and his only way to determine this is by following the orders that he's given and going through the motions of them. If Fuchs says that there are bad people over there that need to be killed, well, Barry just accepts it and kinda just has to believe him. But in the first episode, one of his targets is attending an acting class that Barry observes and suddenly is captivated by. This idea of being an actor, people that tap into specific emotions that can bring them to the surface at will or even become somebody else for a short period of time. And what might seem like the most bizarre premise of all time, a hitman that wants to become an actor, actually makes perfect sense with a character like Barry who will do just about anything to not be himself even for a moment. Barry doesn't feel like he has his own identity. The only time he's ever been praised is when he's killing somebody. When he first joins with the acting group, he can't act, like, at all. He is blank and emotionless, as his life has essentially trained him to be. Actors often find themselves remembering and reflecting on past experiences to bring up emotions, but Barry is nearly emotionless, other than intense bits of rage and outbursts that he's been exposed to in the field. But ultimately, Barry is trying to put his past behind him and become somebody else, create connections, and be able to make his own decisions instead of always following somebody else's directions. But of course, things don't go as planned. Now, I don't want to spoil the show for you in this video, but in order to talk about some of the aspects of its themes and characters, I will inevitably have to mention things that fall into that category, but I'm going to try my best to keep them as light as possible. But as Barry tries to quit the business of killing, he is constantly pressured by Fuchs to take more jobs, and also finds himself in situations where if he doesn't take the job, somebody close to him will be harmed. And inevitably, one kill becomes a few more kills, which becomes a few more, all the while trying to keep his underground life a secret from his new acting friends. But it goes even farther than that, because the longer Barry stays around them, the more likely it is for him to get caught, and in several different instances, Barry finds himself forced to kill out of self-preservation and the fear of getting caught by the police, rather than from any kind of assignment, even if the person he's killing is completely innocent. There's a scene from midway through season 1 that really stands out as a moment of high tension and deep emotion as someone close to Barry confesses that he's about to speak to the police, and Barry has to murder him and make it look like a suicide. But even worse than that, this person is innocent. This person has a family, has a child, and honestly, was a pretty good dude, unlike who maybe Barry really is inside. Consequences also begin to barrel towards him as Barry tries to keep himself out of trouble, but also continuously tries to vow not to kill. And the way that his life goes, there's several instances where his choice not to kill leads him into a plethora of more trouble he wouldn't have gotten into otherwise. There's a season 2 episode where he's supposed to assassinate somebody who turns out to be a world taekwondo champion. And in the beginning of the episode, he could have easily just shot him, but Barry tries to reason with the man and get him to leave town so that he doesn't have to kill him, which ultimately results into basically a fight and chase scene that lasts the entire episode. And a lot of it is hilarious. Remember, this is a dark comedy, but also there's so much more pain and devastation that is caused by Barry's decision here. By the end of season 2 and into season 3, Barry truly begins to slide off the deep end. His whole life, his lies, the killing, it breaks him down into being just basically a total psychopath. Honestly, season 3 Barry is legitimately terrifying, and it's such a different from the hopes and dreams that Barry set out to have in season 1. One thing they do in season 1 that they don't for the rest of the series that I think is a real shame is that they showed visions of what Barry thought of having in a potential normal happy life someday. An image of the person of who he wants to be juxtaposed with who he really is. It's something they did several times in the first season, and I really wish they would have kept it going. Other main characters in the show are also great in their own ways. Specifically for me, Henry Winkler's character, Gene Cousineau, Barry's acting coach. He's a bit of a hard ass who's also made some mistakes in life, but does truly try to get the best out of his students, and someone whom Barry looks up to as a father figure, teaching and guiding him along the way. A huge event happens in the season 1 finale that breaks Gene down and is directly Barry's fault. The show teases what Gene will do when he finds out who Barry really is and what happened, and when that does happen, the show definitely delivers. Gene in season 3 has some incredible development, and I think his performance is fantastic. Sally is also a student in Gene's acting class and becomes a love interest for Barry. Darkly so, she comes from an abusive relationship background, so the subtlety that she would be drawn to Barry and even not notice his dark behavior patterns is an interesting touch. And the fact that she stays in the dark for pretty much the whole show as she tries to pursue her acting career. Her story is actually pretty interesting, and it shows the reality of the entertainment industry from that kind of lens, how greedy and manipulative they can be, how people can desire you one day, discard you the next, and the ups and downs of the industry. She even becomes an example of an exposed video of her screaming at somebody, cancel culture, and of course, the dreaded apology video. NoHo Hank is a mobster, and he's probably my least favorite of the main cast, probably mostly because for a large majority of the show he's strictly a comedic relief type character, but I do gotta say that in season 3 he gets a lot of development, especially in the finale, and it looks like he's about to get some intense characterization as the show goes on. I really like what they did with him in season 3. I also have to give credit to the action sequences in the show. I don't know what the budget on this show is, but they make it look fantastic at times, either when Barry is going John Wick on people, the motorbike scene in season 3, or any of the more intense physical scenes. I'm incredibly impressed with what they were able to do with a TV show budget. But after finishing all 3 seasons, I'm left to wonder how I feel about Barry himself. You can look at his character in a number of ways, and in some ways you can see where he was coming from all along, and he has no sense of purpose or place in this world. He is truly a broken soul who has only ever been valued for killing, and all he wants is to be loved by the people that he loves. But anybody outside of the people he loves, he basically acts like a complete psychopath to. And those that he believes love him were mostly always the ones that were using him. And the more and more that he tried to put his darkness behind him, the worse that his life got, so he ends up killing innocents to protect his own ass. Not to mention all the sins of his past, his former victims, it all comes back to haunt him endlessly. It all comes pouring out of him in one of the saddest screams and cries of pain that I've ever seen in a show, especially from Bill Hader as an actor. He was absolutely amazing. I really loved season 1, and I think that it's my favorite season overall, but the final episode of season 3 might be my favorite single episode in the entire show. And the cliffhanger that it ends on, well, it almost doesn't feel like a cliffhanger at all. In many ways, you probably could have ended the show right here if you wanted to. Regardless, I am super excited for Season 4, and if Season 4 is as good a quality as Season 3 and ends on a high note, I would dare put this show maybe in my top 5 shows of all time. But right now, it's a little too soon to say that. Anyways, if you guys have seen Barry, please let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Leave all your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. What was your favorite season? What was your favorite scene? And how do you feel about the show overall? Thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment to help it in the algorithm. Also, check the links in the description for my Patreon, channel memberships, merch store if you want to support the channel, and various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.